But tolerating somebody, that's not a relationship. To me, that is totally not a relationship.
I think sometimes you tolerate for the sake of a relationship.
So what are you tolerating the person, or are you tolerating what they did or what they do?
What they're doing. Because you know that's their nature or whatever.
To me, if you toleration for relationship purpose is a soup of it's a recipe for destruction to me. Because you're tolerating something that means something is going on that you don't like, you can't stand it, you really don't want to put up with it, but you're tolerating it for the sake of relationship, and then you have to think about it. Is the relationship worth your the energy that you're losing? Is it worth you putting yourself in jeopardy? Is it worth you carrying that weight?
See, I don't look at it that way. I think of it more as a desensitization of the situation.
So you're desensitized.
Like it doesn't affect you one way or the other because you know that's what it is and that's what it's gonna be. I mean, no need to ask forgiveness for the situation because it's not gonna happen.
No need to ask for forgiveness, but is there still a need to forgive?
That's the desensitization.
You forgiving?
The tolerance.
I guess there's a fine line there. I guess there's a fine line in you forgiving someone and tolerating what they are and what they've done. Then we get into a situation where you're wondering, are they ever going to change? Am I going to have to tolerate this for the rest of my life in order to have this relationship or be in this relationship? So I guess you forgiving someone without them asking for forgiveness is a tolerance. I guess it is. Because I always thought of it as different. But in that situation, I think it's the same thing. You're tolerant of that person. You have forgiven them because of the sake of the relationship.
All right, say for instance, if you come to me and say something harsh to me, and once you say something harsh, basically, I get my feelings hurt. So now we're talking about forgiveness. So it's up to me whether if I accept what you said, whether it's true or false. So is that a part of forgiveness? Me accepting it?
Yeah, forgiveness can take two parties. Sometimes it can just take one party, as we said, with tolerance. She was talking about with tolerance, it can take one person. But in order, if you are the one that has been offended, you are the one that the burden is on to forgive. The burden should be on the wrongdoer to ask for forgiveness. But in order for forgiveness to work, the person that has been done wrong has to forgive. Whether that person has come to you in truth and honesty asking for forgiveness is almost not even, what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost not even necessary. I hate to say that. I hate to use that word, but almost not even necessary. Because you can still forgive that person whether that person is sincere or not. It's still within you. It's still on, the burden is still on you to forgive that person. And what you're doing when you forgive someone is you are moving on. It's not necessarily allowing them to move on. but it's for you to move on. So that whatever it is that has happened is not holding you back. Because what happens is if when we don't forgive other folk, we are missing out on blessings. You're missing out on blessings. That person's gone on about their business. Whether they get their blessings or not, that remains to be seen. But I don't want me, I don't want you, I don't want any of us to miss out on blessings because we're holding on to something that somebody has done. Does that answer? Does that get you?
Yeah.
But we all know
What's going on with that thing?
that in real life situations, forgiveness is hard, very. Say you do move on, you forgive that person or whatever has happened. We know that circumstances will arise somewhere. It might not even be with that person. It could be with another situation. Same circumstances, but different. And it will revert you back to where you was hurt or whatever wrong was doing has been done. So how do you deal with that? Even though you know, I forgive you for what you've done and I moved on. We go on, life go on, something happens, something said, or whatever. Then it just automatically goes, you go back and then you're like, see, I remember. Even though I forgive you, but I still remember. How do you move on from that?
Forgiveness is hard. I've been saying it all morning. Forgiveness is hard. It's probably one of the hardest things that you'll ever have to do. One of the hardest things that you'll ever have to do. And we're not robots. We're not computers. Even though I talked about doing a hard reset in our lives, it's almost impossible for you to erase a memory or to take something back. But what you have to do is learn how to deal with it in the future. And what you do to deal with it in the future is if you have truly forgiven that person, even if it arises again, you have to be able to get to a point where you are able to talk about it now. Let's talk about this. Let's handle this. Let's deal with this. What's the old saying goes? You fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You're not going to fool me a third time. Of course, we don't want to be hurt again, but it does happen. And things may come up to bring up that old memory. The Bible says, if I do the same thing 7 times a day, the Bible says you're supposed to forgive that person 7 times a day. That's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. So even if that person does something again, the same thing again, you are supposed to forgive that person again. The burden again is on the forgiver, the person who is supposed to forgive. I know I didn't fully answer your question.
I think that's where the tolerance comes in.
There you go.
Because I want to be right with God, I forgive you, which allows me to tolerate you being whoever you are.